Hey folks, Steve from Dunbar Photographic, located in Southwest Vermont. I am a retired wedding photographer turned hobby wildlife nature landscape photographer, kind of going back to my roots from when I was a child with the old Graflex. And this process started back in January of 2024. Now, I recently made the jump to mirrorless cameras, and this video is all about the Canon R7 with the 100-500 RF100-500 LIS, and I'm going to talk mostly about some issues I've had, and let me set this up. So I've had issues where the eye detect would jump off the eye just as I was pressing the shutter button. Didn't matter whether I was on a gimbal or handheld, made no difference. And what I found is that we are in winter here. It's March 2025, and the colors are very drab. Everything's brown, gray. A lot of these birds, especially the colorful birds, haven't molted yet. They're in the process right now, like the goldfinches, for example. Now, I've been shooting primarily songbirds, which are very tiny, up to blue jays, right? Stuff like that. Generally, a lot of the birds are very small. So in a lot of these situations, which I'm going to show you, I have, let's say, a bird, and he's surrounded by clutter. Not just clutter, but similar tones that are in the bird. A lot of times it will find the eye, but then it'll jump off. And this frustrated me to no end. I thought there was something wrong with the camera, something wasn't right. Well, yeah. Maybe I wasn't just doing something right. So another situation I have, this is where I really notice it. So let's say you've got a bird and you're shooting down low, and let's say you got a little rise or there's some obstruction right in the front of it, and the top half of the bird is peeking up over the top. It won't even lock focus. You can't even get focus on it. Well, I'm going to show you how to fix all this. It's pretty cool. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the settings, camera settings that I use, that I have modified. And I'm going to show you the back button setup. No, it is not your classic back button autofocus. There's 3 buttons that are key to making this thing work and how they're set up. I will say, though, that this combination is a crackerjack of a combination. It is very light, portable. You could walk around with this in your hand all day and you wouldn't even feel it. Okay, now remember, keep in mind that the Canon R7 is a crop sensor. So it has a 1.6 crop on it. So this 100-500 goes from 160 to 800, which is plenty of reach for me. Okay, it's awesome. However, there are some caveats, like I just mentioned. The other one is low light. This is not a low light combination. Can it be fixed within reason? Yes, in post. So I will show you that, and I'll talk a little bit about that later. So this video will be broken up into 3 parts. After I show you the setup and I go through the menus and show you how to configure it to remedy this problem, the next part is going to be captures, raw captures, which are actually JPEGs batch processed as JPEGs, just for speed and so I don't have to wait for the software to load everything. The third part is going to be the edited images. Okay, so I have, just a quick note, I have basically a songbird sanctuary I constructed last year, and it has been a blast. There's 4 stations on this, actually 5 stations. I have a whole woodpecker station. I've counted as many as 7 woodpeckers at once. Harries, downies, red bellies, all there at once. I watched them have their, what do they call it, a brood or whatever? They all had their babies, and I watched them teach the babies how to eat. It was the most fascinating thing I've ever seen in numbers last year. I'm hoping to capture this year again. I just went out and watched them. I was just so fascinated. All kinds of different birds, including cardinals, do the same thing. They'll come to the feeder, and juveniles will come, and it's awesome. So anyways, let's get right into the camera setup. So I'll get the camera on. Okay, and I will walk you through the menus. So here we got the R7. Let's get in the menus. And I have to get all the way back down. Should have done this before. I'm going to just hit on the key things and unpack this, okay? I do shoot in C-RAW. Let's see. All of this, you can set this however you want. It's not really going to affect anything. Metering mode, I do change the metering mode sometimes, but this is set to spot currently. White balance, I'm going to be changing this back to auto white balance because it's altering the color. It's not quite right. The only way I could do this accurately is to do a custom white balance, and I'm too lazy to do it. So I'll be switching this back to auto. Color space, Adobe RGB, picture style standard. That's what I'm shooting at. But that, again, will not have any effect on how the camera performs as far as subject acquisition and sticking to it, no matter what. I do have lens aberration correction set to peripheral illumination and high ISO speed noise reduction turned on. Relevant, my drive mode. Now, this is for stills. This is for individual captures, okay? I do silent shutter function. I want to hear the shutter, so I know I'm taking a picture. Shutter mode is electronic. Image stabilizer mode is turned on. Display performance is set to smooth. This will give you, I believe, a higher frame rate, much better viewing through the viewfinder. And I believe, ISO speed settings regarding the R7. I have max for auto. I shoot in auto ISO. I have that set to 12,800. It's pretty noisy. It's pretty rugged, but you can fix it and use images that are smaller, but it is noisy. Okay, into the most important part. Autofocus operation is set to servo. And autofocus area, I'm not going to go into that because it's this is what I'm going to get into regarding how to set this camera up using flexible zones with or without eye detection. Subject tracking is off. Subject to detect animals. Eye detection enable. Switching track subjects set to 0. Now, here's where it gets wonky. This is what I've just been using, and it seems to work awesome. I did use case 2 with tracking sensitivity set all the way down and accelerate, decelerate, tracking all the way up. I may go to that on my birds in motion, anything in motion. But this is all about a single capture, static objects, static. One thing I wanted to mention too is these birds, although they're static, they're always moving. They're just constantly moving. They're snapping their heads around and everything. Hence, the problem with eye detect. Okay, that's another issue that I was running into. Well, let's see. Lens drive on. Here we go. Limit autofocus areas. This is important. So what you want to do is you want to go in and you want to put a check mark in the box of each one of these you think you may want to use. And I'm going to demo this afterwards at the tail end of this particular chapter in the video. So this is spot. That's one point, which is a little bit bigger spot. This is an awesome one. It's basically a four-sided cube. That's wrong. It's looking at all four sides of the center spot as well. And it works really, really well. You wouldn't think so. I use this one, and I use this one. This is a fairly broad zone. Number 2 is for portrait. Number 3 is a big rectangular box, very skinny rectangular box, possibly good for birds in flight. And this is whole area. So you can set it up with all of them, but remember, and what I would do in your case is I would play with this to highlight all of them, except unless you're shooting. If you're not going to shoot in portrait mode, then leave number 2 off. But kind of go through each one. You may find that one works better for something else, and do a lot of testing so you don't have to wonder what to set it on when you get in the field. Okay, let's go up here. Nothing to see here. Nothing to see here. Okay, now we're going to go up, get into the down and dirty. Go to Customize Buttons, tab 3. In the camera, the orange camera tab. I'm going to show you how I have mine set up. I do not use back button autofocus. Useless to me in this scenario. I just don't use it. I have no use for it. My hit rate is 90+% using this setup. No joke. It went from 40% at best to 90%. So the shutter button I have set to metering and AF start, which is traditional. Now if we go down here to the AF on button, this is set to start and stop tracking. That's where I have that set to. I'll leave it on for a second in case you're messing with your camera. The star button, top right corner. This is set to eye detection. This turns eye detection on and off. It's one of the key ones. Down to the next one. This is AF point button, just beneath, on the right-hand side, beneath the star button. And I have this set to direct AF area selection. This is where your flexible zones come in. This will change with the push of that button. Just keep tapping it and it'll cycle through the flexible zones you have highlighted. Remember back in the autofocus point selection from earlier. Okay, now the one additional thing I have, which is very handy, the set button in the middle of that. It's not a wheel, but it's like a 4-way toggle wheel. That set button I have set to exposure compensation, so I can change my exposure or set my exposure compensation just by pressing and holding that button. Very quick. And it's intuitive because your thumb will go right to it because it's always going to it anyways, right? And it doesn't affect anything else, right? So if you're on playback, you can still use that button to delete, to cancel, whatever, select. Okay, that's done. Now we need to go back down to the wrench, tab 6, set up your custom shooting mode. Now I have this set on C1. C2 is my birds in flight, my high-speed drive, which I only use 15 frames per second. I may use 30, but because of rolling shutter, I haven't messed around too much with that. That's coming. And basically, the only thing I should mention that you have to change, really, is your drive mode. So set your drive mode accordingly, and then save this entire setup to custom function 2. And now you've got static objects, single frame capture on C1, with multiple frames on C2 for motion, for action shots. Okay, so to do this, just click the set button, register settings, custom shooting mode, select wherever you want to put it, and then click OK, and it will register it there. Okay, that is done. History. Okay, so now we will be right back with sample images. These are just captures, raw captures right out of the camera using this setup. And when you see it, I think you'll be quite surprised. No eye detect on these images. Be right back. Okay, raw images. This is a barred owl captured, I don't know, a week and a half ago. He's about 40, 45 feet away. This again is on the R7-100-500 RF L. And as you can see, it is not too shabby. It was done in low light. This was about 8:30 in the morning. It was raining, and you can just see the streaks right here of the rain coming down. Now, if we zoom in, you'll notice the reflections in his eyes. Now, this is raw. This is unedited. This is a banger. All these little white things are rain droplets on his feathers. Moving on to the next one. This is a goldfinch. Now, keep in mind, these were all mostly handheld and roughly the same, I would say 30 to 45 feet away at one of the stations. I was just in the garage, just taking pictures, dressed in black so they couldn't see me in the dark. And let's zoom in, give this a closer look. And this was no animal eye detect on any of these. And you can see the noise. Light was low. See the noise come up? So anything that doesn't look sharp is just because of the noise. It bagged it. First try, no hunting, no nothing. I like this shot, but unfortunately, this is the limitation. So you can see the noise building up. I love this capture. I don't normally shoot birds from the back, but he didn't quite turn his head enough, so you can see that this is a little out of focus. Still get some good feather detail here. It's not bad, but it did pull focus back here, and most likely that's because he wasn't quite broadside enough. And it wouldn't have picked up the eye anyways. It was so dark. I know that. And if it did, it would have jumped off, definitely. My buddy, the Carolina wren. Complex scene. A lot of similar tones, all similar tones behind him. This is a nightmare situation where it will jump off the eye of the bird right when you're going to take the picture. So let's zoom in, take a look at that. Noise isn't too bad. And by the way, these are zooming to about 170%. This is how I check how sharp things are. Look at the feathers, but look at the eye. You can see the pupil and the iris right here. That is banging. Moving on. This is what I'm talking about. Look at this capture. First try, I hit the button, boom. It locked onto him, and I pressed the shutter. And that's what I got. Very difficult shot. Look at the obstructions in the foreground, and look at the background, similar color tones. This is an impossible shot. Not so with this setup that I just showed you on the R7. We zoom in. Very low light. Look at the noise. This was probably about ISO 5000 maybe. And this is that's about 200% most likely. 150 to 170%. But if we look, you can see the pupil and the iris. Just barely see the iris. Now, anything that's out of focus on here, now this is no eye detect, all right? This bagged it instantly, and this is what I'm talking about. The foreground was overtaking the bird with basically his head, half his body sticking up over the top, and it nailed it instantly. And it never left. I waited for a moment and then pressed the shutter button, and this is what I got. Spot on. Same thing here. It's a sparrow. Very noisy. This is probably ISO 10,000, maybe something like that. I wish I had the numbers for you, but you can tell by the noise. It's pretty bad. But it grabbed it. You can see the noise in his beak, his feathers, but it got it. Here's one in better light. Not too bad of a complex background, except for the fact that he's looking right down the barrel of the lens. This is another difficult situation where it may detect the eye, but it'll jump right off and it'll go to something else. It'll start hunting. Complex. Spot on. Tack sharp. Dark-eyed Junco. This is a good one. You got a foreground object right here, and you've got a log right behind him. Because of telecompression, at 800 millimeters, objects in the back will compress in, and this is where she'll try and hunt. Now, the dark-eyed Junco is a very dark bird, and it's difficult oftentimes for the camera to lock onto the eye just because of the nature of the bird. Black feathers, black eye. So if you look at this, bang. Spot on. Look at the noise. But it's bang on. Pulled focus exactly the way it's supposed to. No hesitation. I saw it lock almost pretty much instantaneously, and I pressed the button. Oh, we're jumping ahead. How come? What happened? Okay. Let's get back here. Okay, great light. Another sparrow. Complex. Look at all the stuff going on here. I'm telling you, would have jumped right off. This is why I did this. It's because I was so frustrated. I couldn't figure out what the heck was going on. So if we look, pupil, iris visible. That's amazing. Most people think their eyes are just black. They're not. You can actually see the pupil in the iris in there. Now, an eye, yes, has a pupil and an iris. The only bird that I can't see this on is a mourning dove. They're jet black. I've yet to get a pupil and an iris on a mourning dove. Another complex one, very low. See the foreground in here? And see this branch behind him? Boom. Instant acquisition. Just snap the picture. Tack sharp. See the little feathers right here? They're tiny. You just see them. And that's a serious crop, man. We're talking like, good Lord, that's probably close to 200% right there. This is just for fun, but this is a tufted titmouse at another station. Again, no eye detect. Bada boom, bada bing. Can't ask for much better than that. Goldfinch at another station. No problem. This is back at the North Station. Complex scene. A lot of stuff going on. Looking right down the barrel. A little noisy. You can see the noise in the bird's feathers, especially his back. But it nailed it instantaneously. My buddy the wren. This one is an impossible shot because of the tonal range. Same tones on the logs as the bird has. Oh yeah, baby. Look at the eye. Look at the pupil and the iris around the eye. And if you look over here, yeah, there's a lot of noise there, but this is a serious zoom. This is pretty close to 200%. So, yeah. She gets it. Purple grackle. Beautiful bird. Bully bird. But colors on this bird in direct sunlight, when it gets turned the right way, you can't see it with the naked eye, generally, unless you're right on top of it. But this is how they light up. The feathers light up. It's just absolutely spectacular. Extremely fast grab. I think he was in the process of blinking. His eye was starting, because I saw him blink. Yeah. See the noise? I'm not trying to accentuate the noise. I'm just showing you that when you crop this way, the noise comes into play. More reasonable crop, maybe cropped about right here. It looks great. Not even edited. Harry the Hairy. My friend the Hairy. On one of the sticks, North Station, Woodpecker Station. Again, this is a tough one, because what I notice eye tracking, this is something that I wanted to mention. If you have a woodpecker on a vertical post, tree, branch, oftentimes I would pull focus on, it would lock on the eye, and I'd take the picture and it would jump to the stinking stick. Doesn't do that with this setup. It's amazing. That's pretty extreme. And that was at a low ISO. That was probably around 320, 300, somewhere in there. Pretty cool. This was a downy, or at the same time, this was back to back pretty much. I saw a downy up on the tree, and he was a long ways away. He was about 50 feet, probably. And grabbed him, same thing. Got a branch up here, branch. You got this ash tree here. Is that an ash or a maple? It's a maple. It's a maple. And little bit, he's a little bit soft. Just a tiny bit soft. But in post, that would be a banger. Cropped about something like that, or in a vertical comp, cropped vertically. You know what I mean? In post, and I'll show you the post images and what I used to do this with. Red-winged blackbird. Pupil, iris. You can just see it. See it in there? That's amazing. Ah, red belly. They're so much fun. Talkative birds. I get out there and they start complaining to me because there's no food in the sticks in the morning. So I have to repack the sticks and put them out there. Unbelievable. So talkative, so friendly. Most of these woodpeckers, except for the red belly's a little bit more skittish, but the downies and the hairies will stay on the tree right next to where the stick is. Literally 2 feet from me. I've had them almost fly onto the top of my freaking head. They're so tame now. It's really bizarre. This is a high ISO. You can see the noise building in. A little bit rugged. But look at the eye. Pupil and iris, unlit. Super quick. Hit the button, locked, bang. And it is quick. Okay, that's the last one. So let's get on to the corrected ones. So what I do is I use Topaz Photo AI with a very mild preset just to do an initial correction just to see what I can do with it and see how usable it is. Like, let's say in a book or a calendar or whatever. Goldfinch. Let's get a full screen here. Goldfinchy. Corrected. Look at that. That's unbelievable. Look at the beak. Again, no animal eye detect operating. I do use it still. But for these applications, I don't use it just because it causes more grief than anything else. Unbelievable. Sunflower seed in his mouth. This is like a 180 to 200%. That's a 200% crop right there. Crazy, right? And look at what Topaz does with the noise. Look at that. Smooths it right out. Just a very modest, very mild sharpening. Tufted titmouse in this complex environment. This is what I find interesting. Look at his tail. It's not in focus. Look at his head. No eye detect. It just recognizes the head. Don't ask. I don't know. This is how it works. Tack sharp. Like ridiculous sharp. Moving on. Okay, this is one I didn't show you in raw capture, but this was shot at 12,800 ISO. Red-winged blackbird. This was completely destroyed. So noisy, but it did pull focus. The focus was good. But this is what Topaz Photo AI can do. I'm telling you, it was a train wreck, this image. Look at that. That's unbelievable. You would swear I shot that at like 800 ISO. Right? Incredible. Pair of mourning doves. What happened was it pulled focus, I believe, right here. Or maybe, yeah, from here to here. And this bird wasn't very sharp, so this would need a little bit more work. I love this shot. I think it's really cool. Two birds on the same branch facing two ways with profiles. This, I would need to do selective sharpening to pull this up to this level. So let's take a closer look. You can see that's pretty banging. Look at the beak, feathers, feather detail. Look at the eye, the edge around the eye. That's what I look at on mourning doves to see if I really got it. And this one, see how soft this is? It's not quite right. He's lagging behind there. So he's not quite in focus. I could probably work that up and make a nice image out of that. Another tufted titmouse. Zoom way in, take a look. Yeah, look at the beak. Look at all the speckles on the beak. Look at the fine feather detail. Look at his talons. Crazy, right? The sparrow. He was just munching on a sunflower seed. Banging. Don't particularly like that shot, but again, look at the pupil and the iris in his eye. Clearly see it. Another goldfinchy. In good light. This is with the Topaz Photo AI with a very, very mild correction. Mourning dove. Great light, bright light, and you can see the iridescent feathers underneath just starting to light up. I have some other pictures of these that are absolutely spectacular taken on. I can't remember what it was taken on, but I will be showing you those coming up in an upcoming video. Okay. I blew this shot, cut off his tail. Kind of looks like a penguin to me. This was in early morning. The sun had just come up, and it was very golden, very, very warm light, kind of surreal, really bizarre looking. Not the sharpest shot. I kind of blew something there, but it's not too bad. That's a black and white I worked up, which I can't stand. I don't like it. I figured I'd show you that quick. I thought it might be a cool black and white, but I would need to apply some different color filters to, I don't know. I worked with it for about an hour and gave up, and that's what I ended up with. Okay, Mr. Owl. go in. This is ridiculous when you see this. Handheld, 60th of a second. Look here, no noise. Stripped out the noise. Look here, see the water droplets? Now you can clearly see them. See right here? Ridiculous. And look in his eyes. Reflections in his eyes of the I don't know what it is. I think it's snow in the driveway. This, I'm not sure what it is. I think this is a car, one of the cars parked out there. But yeah, look at that. Unbelievable, right? Crazy. 1/60th of a second at like 45 feet. Handheld. And the good old chickadee corrected. Not too bad. Feathers got sharper here. The eye looks sharp, but it's really not. These feathers are out of focus right here. This is sharp. The piece of fruit he grabbed. So not bad. I kind of like that shot. I like the fact that his feathers are overlapped like that too. Kind of different, unique. I know I'm a freak. Okay. Red belly on the stick. This wasn't in the raw images. Yeah. It's like 200%. That's ridiculous. You don't think this, don't let anyone tell you that this camera combination cannot take good pictures. This thing, I've been saying it to myself. I say it to my wife. Every time I use it, it is a crackerjack. It's a banging combination with this lens, this camera. The lens is slow. That's the one drawback. That's the one drawback. Sparrow. Clearly the pupil in the iris visible. Unbelievable. No eye detect. Grackle. Corrected. Slight correction. I don't like the exposure. I'll probably drop the exposure because it'll saturate more. I don't like this background, but hey, it's spring, winter, spring here, and it's just nasty. Let's give her a real close peek. Yeah, that's nuts, isn't it? I always look at the beak, too, to see how sharp that is. That's nuts. And there's Harry the Hairy. Corrected. Let me leave it here for a second so you can kind of look at it. Not be so quick. Oh, yeah. That's money, baby. And oh, yeah, here's the downy up on the tree. Remember I said that can be fixed? Check it out. Long ways away, folks. So that's not, it can't be fixed. If you put junk in, you're going to get junk out. So there's only so much you can do with an image like this. But if you zoom this out, when I zoom out, pay attention to this area right here. Okay. Now this is extreme. This is like 200%. So let's zoom out and let's say I'm going to make a calendar. Well, guess what? Look at that. To your eye, that looks razor sharp. That could be a calendar shot. You know? I mean, this is serious peeping. Nobody zooms in 200%. Usually people don't even zoom in 100%, but you can do it. Red-winged blackbird. Oh, yeah. A banger. He's got food, whatever he's been eating. He's probably been eating suet out of the sticks. They do that. They try to hover to get into the sticks. It's funny. All right. Red belly on the tree. The one I showed you. This is the corrected image. Well, mild correction. Good feather detail. All the way up through, clearly see the eye, the red eye, the pupil, stuff on his beak from the stick. Let's go in, take a closer look. Oh yeah. Now you can tell this was shot at a high ISO, and I think my shutter speed was high. I think it may have been 1600. So it pushed the ISO way up. I didn't need to be that high. I should have been down around 640, 500 or 640. And I would have, because he was totally still. So that was my bad. I really like this grab, but I blew that one. But that's what can be done. So if you zoom out a little bit, it's a nice image. Cropped. You know, crop it like this. In the vertical, portrait style. Yeah, what the heck. Okay, that's it for that, guys. And now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say thank you for watching. This is a combined channel. I do a lot of ham radio stuff as well, ham radio operator. And so I figured I'd just combine everything photography into this channel. And there's going to be a lot of photography stuff coming, vlogging, POV photography, all kinds of stuff. So I just wanted to say thanks for watching. Feel free to comment. And if you have a different setup, or you know someone who has a different setup that may work, please point me in that direction. All right, with the Canon R7 and 150-500, I'm going to be doing videos on the EF100-400 Mark II. Killer on this camera. You gain, what, 1.5 stops? Every stop counts on an APS-C camera. Every stop. You want as much light hitting that sensor as you can possibly get. It's a great lens. I have a bunch of captures using that lens. I also have some action shots using that lens on this camera, and it's amazing. The EF, you do not need to buy this lens if you have an EF100-400 unless you need the extra 100mm reach. The EF100-400 on this camera body gives you 640mm. Remember the days when like 300mm f2.8s were enough? I mean, are we going crazy here or what? The other lens I'm going to show you examples of on this camera is the Tamron 70-200 G2 f2.8. That lens, if you can get close to your subjects or you're shooting from a blind, it gives you 320mm on this body at f2.8. And I'm telling you, that thing is insane. If you can get away with shooting 320mm, and if it's enough for you, that combination is tough to beat on any of these cameras, full frame or crop. Because I have some pictures I'll show you with that one as well. Unreal. So I got a lot of stuff coming. So thanks for watching, guys, and happy shooting. And I hope this helps somebody. And feel free to comment. Don't forget to subscribe if you want to. There's going to be a lot of material coming. I'm inundated with things that I want to share. We'll see you later. I'm going to end it with a demonstration of, when I say I have a songbird sanctuary here, I think you'll get it when you see this video. This was taken the other day, just a quick, short video. We'll see you all later. Thanks for watching.